Let's start here with the O-siders. And Chargers can come to San Diego because it's still part of their market. They blocked the Raiders from coming to Southern California so they could share the mega market solely with the Rams. Please stop hating.
Okay. Oceanside says we should not hate. I'd have a tough time swallowing that sales pitch because of what they did to 55 years of loyalty. But if you wish to support them, that's your money. You want to burn 10 hours to go up to SoFi Stadium and root for a team in Los Angeles, okay. But they left a lot of ill will, a lot of bad feelings behind. But thank you for the input. Again, my statement, I hope Justin Herbert goes 17-0. I hope Dean Spanos goes 0-17. I'm sure there's counseling for that, but that's it.
It's just, it's like a breakup with an ex-girlfriend just doesn't go well. And that's what this whole thing is. And you don't want to see your ex-girlfriend, come running back to town. And that's what this whole thing is about. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting media day. I mean, I saw Ben Higgins was there and he was saying, well, I haven't covered the Chargers in like over 8 years. And here I am at USD. And so, yeah, all the media guys made a big thing out of it.
Yeah. Tough. To me, it's very, very hard. And I guess I'm kind of stunned at some people who would say, well, the city didn't do enough. Well, damn it, they did. I don't know whether time has impacted fans' knowledge of what happened, but the city and the county and CSAG, the group, put together the funding with the NFL for the stadium, and Spanos refused to come to the negotiating table, Oceanside. This was on him. This mayor, Faulkner, for the first time ever, had a city-county package put together with local people and with the NFL, and he refused to negotiate. He should have been sued. They should have sued Spanos in the league like they did sue and won the suit against Kroenke in St. Louis. But end of the day.
Yeah, Spanos didn't want to stay in San Diego. You could tell. It was just a dog and pony show that they went through. But wasn't Oceanside one of the unique proposals for a stadium?
There were ideas, but the thing is, how are you going to get access to the land? Who's going to pay for the land? Who's going to pay for the stadium?
Right.
And then Spanos at the last minute, after all the work that the city and county and CSAG, which was the corporate group, did to come up with the financing for the Qualcomm site. Spanos said, I want to build downtown next to Padres Stadium, which made no sense at all, because it was a postage stamp piece of real estate.
Yeah, not much there.
And then he tried to tie it into something with the convention center expansion. And he was doing that just to get it turned down at the at the voters box. Yes. And then he'd go to the NFL and say, see, they won't approve anything. What he proposed was totally absurd when everything had been put in place for the Qualcomm site.
Well, do you think maybe, he has any buyer's remorse?
No, he don't give a crap.
No, but if you were to be his accountant and look at the numbers, would he have been better off to stay in San Diego? Because he's up in LA, he has no equity in a stadium. I mean, he's just renting from Kroenke. Now, granted, I'm sure his franchise valuation, the asset, is appreciated a lot, but it would still appreciate a lot if it were in San Diego. But then he might have a lot more revenue coming in from a stadium here locally. I think he screwed the pooch. I mean, the LA fans are not really embracing him all that much.
I wrote in my column, if you've not read my column, read my column. It's really strong. It's on my One Man's Opinion page on my website. But I wrote, he could have been revered here in San Diego as the guy who saved the Chargers and got the stadium built. And instead, he fled in the middle of the night, and he's forever reviled. Now, Oceanside feels different. That's okay. All right, let's move on. Thank you for the comment.
Okay, let's go here to Steven. I don't recall seeing Steven's name here in Fans Farm, so welcome, Steven. Hey, the Dodgers finally get their good pitching back with awesome performances, and the bullpen walks the bases full 2 days in a row to lose the lead.
They got all kinds of internal problems, and now Tanner Scott's on the disabled list with a forearm injury. Kirby Yates can't get people out. They're going to make a trade. A week from today, a week from Thursday, there's going to be a Dodger deal to probably get one of the closers that was on the board that we posted. So they've got the resources to do it, and they've really been beset by injuries. This whole Mookie Betts thing, this health issue thing, he's lost his bat speed thing. This is really serious. And Freddie Freeman's playing hurt, and he's limping out there, and he continues to play. So They're just not a complete baseball team right now, but they do have the assets, and that general manager and that president has a history of making Thursday trade deadline transactions, and guarantee me you're going to see it. They play tomorrow in Boston. They go to Fenway Park. So they get Dodgers Red Sox open a big weekend series with all these rumors flying about Red Sox trades, Dodgers trades, etc.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in baseball right now. The other guy that I read blew out his arm, or maybe they're worried he is that Kasparius kid.
He's got a calf injury.
Oh, it's a calf.
He's got an ERA of 8.64.
But he was a warm body that they could roll out there because they needed it.
He rolled out there and he got hurt.
Yeah, it still just blows my mind that with all of this chaos, they're still comfortably in first place.
But not by much, but by 4.5. But at the end of the day, open your wallet, Dodger dollars, and they'll add something. I guarantee you by next Friday, there will be some additions that'll probably be difference makers, because it happened in the past with Scherzer, happened in last year with Jack Flaherty, and Tommy Edman's going to happen again.
Remember that the Scherzer year? And Padre fan was like excited as we got Scherzer. And then like the news started creeping like, oh, that deal hasn't fully been confirmed. And the next thing you know, the Dodgers not only get Scherzer, but they got Trey Turner. And you're like, oh my God, the Dodgers. It never ends with these guys. They're going to get someone good. You know it.
Concur. Thursday's going to be interesting. There are so many guys out there on this trade block right now. And there's obviously some teams in fire sale mode that are going to shuffle the deck. Okay, Stephen, thanks for joining us. Become a regular. Tell your friends. Next one.
Okay, let's go to Dave E.K. He says, hey, I can't believe Tatis has not been held to task for juicing. Connect the dots. His offensive decline corresponds with his PED suspension. Is there any other explanation?
Well, he's been hurt, though. I mean, he got beamed on the forearm. He's got an oblique injury. I think the oblique injury is one of the reasons his numbers are way down. Understand this. He gets drug tested 10 times a year.
Oh.
So he is, there's been no relapse. He hasn't done something stupid. He did something stupid, obviously, with what happened in the Dominican Republic that led to that long suspension. So I just think he's dinged up. He's just not the same player right now. Runs like hell, plays right field like you wouldn't believe, but his ability at home plate is just not the same right now. And I tend to think it's the oblique of the forearm, or maybe both.
Something's up, and I don't want to be like coming down hard on a kid, because he's got a lot going on in his life right now, with his personal life and his financial life, with his contract and the lawsuit there. But it just doesn't compute, the way he's up there. The ball doesn't have the same pop off his bat. He's playing like, Chris Denorfia level right field, in terms of his offensive production.
The 250 hitter with some power.
Yeah. And we don't see the power nearly often enough. Yeah. And so it's just so disappointing because, when he was on TV, man, drop everything and watch because something was going to happen.
Not the same right now because the team's not the same either. So, again, I asked the question, you still believe in A.J. Preller? Looking for responses to that. Go ahead, John. Next one.
Let's go to Angel. Talk Clippers. Hey, the Clippers have seriously rebuilt. And when everyone thought that, and they'll be a lottery team again when PG-13 bolted. Did I read that right? And then Lakers still trying to build around LeBron.
Well, the Clippers had to move some parts. I mean, when Paul George vacated, that was a shocker. But prior to that, they moved Blake Griffin because of all the injuries. They've tried really hard twice in a row, haven't gotten there. This is not a last gasp effort because they're not committing a lot of money for years to come to all these guys. These guys are on shorter term contracts. The Beals and the Chris Pauls and Harden. So at the end of the day, they're much deeper with a lot more experience. So if they're going to do it, it's got to be done probably this year or next year. I just like the makeup of the roster. I think they got a lot of diverse players who've got a lot of experience as compared to the Lakers wishing and hoping that this athlete, that athlete is going to turn out.
Yeah, it feels like the Lakers is sort of like a soap opera, but the Clippers are like a case of curse or a case of bad luck that never seems to go their way. Mm-hmm. And you want Steve Baldwin to have some success. You kind of wonder if this new owner with the Lakers is going to change the culture. We won't probably know that until next year at the earliest. So it's just both these teams are in these sort of mid points. They're not blowing us away, but they're not terribly disappointing us.
No, but the Clippers have a better roster on paper right now than the Lakers do.
Yeah, I think I think you're right on that.
I'm always right.
Yeah, you're always right.
Thank you. Next one.
Okay, go to Dave Dog. He says, "Hey, NFL training camp in San Diego. I'll take it."
Okay. You can do what you wish. They were here for 2 days, probably tried to sell you some season tickets, but I can't forgive them. I can't forget what the hell they did to all these fans, this community. My goodness. Maybe you're not a native San Diego. Maybe you didn't have a big emotional attachment to the Lightning Bolt. I did for a lot of different reasons. These fans did for 55 years of loyalty.
You know, training camp at USD is pretty sweet,
Oh,
but training camp at UCSD for how many years they did it there in the 70s and 80s, that was as good as it gets.
Best camp I've ever been in.
Yeah.
I mean, worst camp and there are probably some other real bad ones. Worst ones I ever visited was Latrobe, Pennsylvania, home of the legendary Steelers. I mean, that is hot and that is humid.
Is that where Rolling Rock is made?
Damn right.
Yeah.
But it is a tough place. So you come out here, I told Tom Telesco he'd never experienced it. I said, he got here after, the Chargers had moved their training camp actually into the facility in Murphy Canyon. I said, Tom, ocean breeze every minute of every day.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's great to stand there in the ocean breeze right on the UCSD camp. I mean, right on the edge of the water. And by the way, the players, their ability to recover from workouts, and they were still doing 2-a-days in pads at that point in time. When I first got here, those players could respond, and they lived in the dorms on that campus. I mean, it was just glory. It was beautiful. And then John Butler, the new general manager, who replaced Bobby Beathard after Beathard had been removed. Butler came in with A.J. Smith. They said, we're going to change the culture of Charger football. We're going to bond together. And he moved their preseason camp to Cal State Dominguez Hills. You know where that is? That's just blocks from the oil refineries.
Yeah.
It's hot, it's humid, and the taint of the oil refineries is there all the time. Players near revolt. They spent 2 years there, and the players just bitched. And then they finally came back here, and they're located in the Murphy Canyon at their new facility. It was just terrible.
Yeah, I think he's watching too much of Remember the Titans. They go away to like their own sort of high school.
Gettysburg College.
Yeah, and it was a bonding event, which they needed to do in that movie. But I'll say this. I was a student at UCSD living in the dorms in Warren College at the time. Not in my dorm, but in other dorms. The walls were like sheets of plywood. And there were in pencil, like they were diagramming plays. So you could see that the Chargers lived in the dorms that I was in the fall. They were there in the summer.
Yeah, it was great. It was really, they had, I think, the best training camp facility ever from a weather perspective. Players didn't bitch about it at all. Okay, next one.
Okay, this is a two-parter from Surf City Bill. He says, hey, where did you hear this Memphis proposal to the PAC? First time hearing this. And he goes on to say, surely the PAC would take Memphis as a football-only school. They really need that ninth school for scheduling purposes.
They didn't take them. I was told the proposal was made after the Big 12 rejected them over the weekend. And then the Pac-12 said, no, it does not line up geographically with anything we're attempting to do. Again, look where Memphis is geographically. Memphis and West Virginia and those guys should actually all be in the Atlantic Coast Conference. West Virginia and the Big 12 makes zero sense to me at all. Why the Big 12 didn't take them? Football is just not on anybody's radar. And there's so much junk with Penny Hardaway and the basketball programs. They've had 3 different incidents with the NCAA. I'm still kind of surprised that, of course, Penny Hardaway played there, that Penny Hardaway is still the head coach at the University of Memphis. But Pac-12, from a geographic standpoint, it made no sense at all. But I don't think Texas State makes any sense either, although we got Texas State fans that watch this podcast that believe it does go into the Pac-12, so that's where we are.
Yeah, Texas State fans think that they are legit. They think that it's their time to be in a big conference. But yeah, to me, Memphis was always the troubled kid, that was always, getting busted by the law. But I'm looking at Surf City Bill's comment. He says the ninth school for scheduling purposes. So would that mean that one team would always have a bye, maybe?
Yeah, there's some complexities to the way this thing is structured. But you got to take the right school, and it's got to have the right meaning 4-year conference in terms of growth. There's nobody else out there. And, reaching for Central Florida or Tulane, that is so far off the charts from a realistic standpoint. Sit there and see what changes. Maybe there'll be changes within 2 years' time. Maybe BYU, maybe Cal Stanford, this whole ACC thing, which makes no sense to me either. Maybe Cal Stanford come back and maybe that'll be a different conference, but it's never going to be the Pac-12 the way it is. I said on my San Diego State segment last week that the next person that says to me the Aztecs in the Pac-12, I'm really excited about that, I'll be the first person that said that. Because to me, there is zero excitement about Aztec football in the Pac-12. Basketball might be a whole different enchilada, but football, no.
Yeah, well, amongst the hardcore guys, they're excited about it, because they've been longing to be in the Pac-12, like Aztec Mike talks about it. And it's going to be an incremental upgrade. It's not going to be like a blow your doors upgrade, but it's going to be something. But what's interesting to think about this is that you talk about geographically undesirable, not that those rules matter anymore, it seems, but Memphis is literally on the eastern side of the Mississippi River.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that would be just insane for that to be in a Pacific 12 conference. Yeah, it's just crazy.
I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do eventually, but they have enough now so that they are legitimate in the NCAA's mind, right?
Exactly.
So they can perform as an 8-team football conference.
And a 9-team with Gonzaga in basketball. And I think the basketball is going to be fun.
That's going to be interesting to see how Gonzaga does in the conference. Obviously, San Diego State will probably be the primary rival, but this is going to be a lot harder than playing Loyola Marymount, and some of these other schools in the WCC.
Concur. But that's a year from now. That's not this coming winter.
Oh, okay. We got a year and a half to wait.
Okay, next one. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, let's go to Derek. He goes, hey, Mike Brown is always one of the cheapest owners in the league per the year-end surveys. How can they keep anyone?
Well, the league's not going to oust them because they're not doing anything wrong except being cheap. That's the history. But when everybody else was building new stadiums, state-of-the-art practice facilities, they were practicing on a dumpy field at Nippert Stadium, which is 1950s, 1960s. It took forever, and the union applied a lot of pressure to the Bengals. But it's their franchise. It's from the old AFL days. It was founded by the legendary Paul Brown. But the way they do their business, I mean, they have the least number of scouts of anybody there. I don't think they run modern day NFL operations from analytics and standpoint. And for them to nickel and dime their star players the way they do, it's just disgraceful. And like I said, if Paul Brown could, he'd come out of the grave and fire Mike Brown for the way his father's running the thing. And they hire cheap. They don't hire named coaches. Whatever is. Thank God they were so bad they wound up with Joe Burrow. Otherwise, this would be a miserable franchise forever and ever. But because they were so bad, they wound up with Joe Burrow and then Jamar Chase. I mean, those are their 2-star players, and it took those guys screaming and yelling to get their contracts paid. So I think it's a bad set of circumstances.
Imagine being a kid, man. Your whole life you're living for the NFL draft, and you get picked by the Bengals. It must be like a punch in the gut, or like, you're happy, but you're not happy.
Well, the drafting of Joe Burrow was obviously a kid that wound up going to LSU, but he's an Ohio kid.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a longtime assistant coach where I went to school at Ohio University. Joe lived in Southeast Ohio. Joe grew up a Bengals fan because Southeast Ohio is the Bengals team. It's not the Cleveland Browns up north. So there was a link there, but it's just the way they run it. It's poor. It's just been a long time since they've had legitimacy in terms of whom they hire as a head coach and what success they've had on the field. And the only success they're having is because of Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow's getting his brains beat out because they're so cheap that they've not drafted well, not signed quality free agents. They just don't do business that way.
Let me say 2 things positive about the Bengals. Number one is I like their uniforms now with the tiger stripes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was a little boy, we would go to the International House of Pancakes, and they would give out these little mini plastic NFL helmets. I don't know if you've ever seen those, and I would try to collect them all. And the Bengals helmet and the Browns helmet were like almost identical.
Right.
Except the Bengals, it just said Bengals in type on
orange. Well, it was designed by Paul Brown, who was a former head coach, general manager of the Cleveland Browns, who designed the original Cleveland Browns uniform.
Yeah, it's just like it's such a letdown, the Bengals helmet and the Browns helmet too. And then the uniforms are nothing fancy. But now with the tiger stripes, and the second thing is that they put all those colorful like jungle background like around the stadium.
Finally.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cool vibe. I hope Bengal fan appreciates that.
Oh, I think Bengal fan appreciates some of the star talent on the team, but how can you appreciate the owner and the way they operate? One sidebar question. I don't want to get personal, but you're great with fashion critiques. Look at the way you're dressed. How is that possible?
I will say this is that I love sports, not for just the athletics or the competitiveness, but I like all the uniform stuff.
Sure.
And I like the branding of the mascot and the way uniforms change. I like the history of the numbers that every player wears, and there's just so many little intricate nooks and crannies that like sports nerds like me can live sports all day.
Best uniforms I've ever been around. 75th anniversary San Diego Chargers. San Diego Chargers.
Oh yeah,
with the powder blues and the all whites with the powder blue and the helmet. Oh, just great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, all right, we move on.
Okay, let's go here to Kent. Speaking of the Chargers, he says, "Hey, could Amarian Hampton be the next LT? He can catch and run the ball. Remember when LT was a rookie? Same type of back.
He's more of a power guy. He is a north-south guy. I don't think he's this, and that's what LT was. LT was just a cross-section of toughness, but explosiveness, but his ability to stop on a dime and do this, just absolutely amazing. We'll find out. Marion Hampton's going to get a bunch of carries in preseason starting next Thursday when they play the Detroit Lions because there is no Najee Harris. And, I had great vibes that I thought Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton, that's going to be a pretty good combination. Hampton can run it and do this with explosion, but he also catches passes. I think he averaged 5.5 yards every time he touched the ball at North Carolina. I think he's a really good player. I think Joe Ortiz on the brink of having his second really good draft in a row.
So the Chargers running back, they got Amarian Hampton, they got Najee Harris, they got the kid that
Nye Himes, who they just signed, but he's been hurt. He's been
like
out of football
jet ski accident. It's crazy. So, but all the other backs are gone, right? I mean, what's it, Jake? What was this? Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins is in Denver. Gus Edwards.
J.K. Rawlings. Yeah, Dobbins.
Gus Edwards is not signed.
That's what I was going to ask. Is Gus Edwards is still a free agent out there?
200,000 miles on his body and a history of injury.
But you really need like three backs. I remember back in when you were broadcasting, was it Ronnie Harmon like on that?
Yeah, he was a specialist, dart and dash.
Yeah, third down guy. You always need one of them.
Very good player. The Chargers have a young guy they drafted a year ago, Vidal, who in cameo appearances looked like he could play, but they've run through a lot of young running backs and just trying to find guys. They'll have depth, but I'd hate to think that they're going to have to go a chunk of time without Najee Harris because I think he was going to be an integral part of their power run game. And he's got so much experience. He was heavy duty in Pittsburgh. He had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He doesn't fumble and he doesn't get hurt. And now he's this fluke firecracker thing. He's hurt. And they're saying now they kind of indicating he's not going to be ready for the start of the season.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Yeah, I mean, it really is.
But they got Hampton. So we'll kind of watch this and see how it develops.
Okay, let's go here to Jay Farrell. He goes, hey, Durant is going to cost more than just Suarez.
No, good point. The scary part about Suarez is he can opt out, and he's going to be due a big payday. And Suarez has had 3 really great years in San Diego. I was told it's Suarez, and it might be Campusano, and it might be a double-A pitcher. It's going to have to be 2 for 1, or maybe even 3 for 1. But Duran's proven. Duran's a really good ball player. He's a nickel. Might view him as a nickel and dime hitter. He's got some power, and he run like hell. I mean, you put Duran in that outfield with the kid in center, Merrill, and with El Nino on right, that's a pretty good threesome. And they're all athletic, and they're all young.
Yeah.
That'd be your outfield for the next 5 to 8 years.
But the alternatives, there's no other really sexy names out there except maybe Luis Robert, right?
Yeah, but he's hitting 190 and
he's hitting better lately though.
But his contract is $17 million every year for the next 3 years. And I don't see ownership allowing that.
3 years.
Yeah. And he's had 2 really crap seasons. He's just lost it in terms of just not the player he was.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, they have to do something. I mean, the number 8 and number 9 in the batting order, it's just a disgrace.
Yeah, and the catcher situation and the bench, it's a flawed team. They just don't have enough. And
we kept seeing Trenton Brooks coming up in these clutch situations in the 8th and 9th, and you're like, oh, is there someone else?
Yeah, they don't have it right now. So, and again, this goes back to ownership. I mean, we reported, the national media has now reported it. I wrote about it on my website. He was told, he being Preller, you can't add salary unless you delete salary. And within 2 days came the reports that I got, and the national guys are now reporting, Cease is on the trade block, Suarez is being shopped too. They'd have to move salary to be able to bring back different salary. I do like Duran, but Boston's going to play the prices right. Everybody's calling Boston about Duran now. Boston has indicated we're going to move one of these young guys, and he's the guy. So that means everybody's in a pennant race, likes that kid. They're going to make offers too, aside from just the Friars.
Well, the Friars have to give up a lot to get Duran, but they might get a lot if they trade Cease in another deal. So because right now the seller, You question it? The sellers have a big advantage right now. There's all these teams that think they got a shot at the wild card. They're going to be overbidding, and there's teams that are desperate for pitching. I mean, that's the one thing the Padres could deal. They could deal relief pitching and maybe even starting pitching.
You should take that Oklahoma hat off. It's a little too tight on your brain. You really think somebody who's 3-10 with an ERA of almost 5 and has had only 6 decent starts this year, you're going to get a lot for Dylan Cease, who's going to walk at the end of the season? I don't think so.
You get something, because he's proven
something.
Yeah, he just threw a no-hitter. When was that? Last year? The year before last?
That's in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
You see no consistency at all. And I like Dylan Cease. I can't figure out why his mechanics are so off sync and they can't get him back to where he was. They fixed him at midseason last year, and he was brilliant. He was one of the reasons they got to the playoffs and went deep against the Dodgers before it kind of all ended. But he looks like a shell of what he was before.
Well, I'm sure other teams are thinking the same thing. We can fix him, if we just get our developmental guys out there with him, we can fix this guy. So it'd be interesting to see if Preller has a chance, to buy and sell, and to kind of really mix the deck. I mean, do you think Preller would ever have just a total go for it thing where he would trade everything, like trade DeVries and Salas and Cronenworth, and just make this gigantic all for nothing, kind of deal?
That's an awful big reach because they don't have anything in the farm system. I know, Salas can't play. He's not going to play this year now.
But he'd still get something in a trade.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Exactly. So now he drafted 2 catchers who come with high regard this last week.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys are years away. That's AJ, though. He's traded everybody. He's got nothing in the farm system because he keeps trading. So I guess I would never rule out that he might trade Salas in a package, but Salas can't play right now, so somebody would be acquiring him that he'll be totally healthy. And by the way, maybe he'll hit because he's never hit the minor leagues at all.
Yeah, the trade deadline is always a fun time of the year. And I just, the one moment that I always think about I would think it was the 1987, and the Giants acquired Steve Bedrosian from the Phillies in the trade deadline, and that helped them get to the playoffs to face, I think it was the Cardinals that year. And that was just such a thrill for me at that point in my life. And it's just so fun how suddenly a team that you're not so sure about suddenly could be looking like they're in a great position for the playoffs if they make the right deal.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and that list that we put up at the beginning of the show, that collection of names, that was a really impressive list of guys who are going to help a lot of different pennant contenders. Guys are getting traded for a whole bunch of reasons. Teams are holding fire sales. Guys are at the walk year of the contracts. Clubs are looking to change pieces because they got extra outfielders, for example. So, those guys are proven commodities. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens between now and next Thursday. I firmly believe by the time we get to next Thursday, Padres will have made at least one significant deal, and I'm positive the Dodgers will make at least one deal too. Okay, move on.
Moving on. Okay, let's go here to our friend John And Sean says, hey, the Padres need to get a player with some fire, leadership, who cares more about a ring than next season's paycheck. Can you say Andrew McCutchen and then break the collusion and sign Trevor Bauer for the MLB minimum?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to touch Trevor Bauer. I've seen nothing right now about Julio Urias, the Dodger left-hander. That kid was 60 and 25 before he made all these bad decisions in his life. So at this point, the other thing is, if you're going to get a pitcher, right, you need a pitcher that you can give the ball to right now in the rotation, not some guy that's been out of baseball for a year or has been pitching abroad for a year. So John's going to do a transaction for somebody that's going to be part of your rotation with a snap of the fingers, and he'll be pitching next Friday and Saturday for you. So that'll be the interesting thing. McCutchen is a rental. He's a short-term rental. He's got an awful lot of miles on him. I like McCutchen from a leadership standpoint, but McCutchen is like Tommy Pham. Difference maker every day of the week? No. Can it hit an occasional home run? Yeah. If you're asking me, I'd rather have Duran. I think I'd trade a chunk of the farm system. I'd hate to give up Suarez, but that's, to me, Duran is more ready-made to help you every minute of every game he plays than an Andrew McCutchen or a Tommy Pham or somebody else.
Hindsight's 2020. How about James Wood in left field?
Oh, here we go.
Okay, let's keep moving here. It's a little Dodger talk with Javi. He goes, save the season. Aren't the Dodgers one game back of the best record with half the team gone?
Yeah, and the thing is that not all those guys are coming back, and they're woefully short, and they're just hanging on for dear life. So are the Dodgers going to get hot and hit again? Because they have not hit for the better part of, it's middle of July. I mean, since June 1st, the Dodgers are not the same team at home plate than they've been. And obviously, they're not the same team right now in the bullpen. They got a crisis in the bullpen. Now, obviously, Glasnow has put together 3 really decent starts. He had 12 strikeouts against the Twins the other night, and then they almost lost the game. Kershaw is back. They think Snell's going to make one more start at Oklahoma City, and then he'll come back probably as a 4-inning starter. Ohtani is about to move to 4 innings, and I think that's the bulk that he's going to get right there. So they're going to have to they got to get another guy in a bullpen. I don't know where Landon Knack is. I don't know why they've not brought him back up. Bobby Miller's really having a wretched season in Oklahoma City. Maybe they convert one of those guys who are scuffling as starters and just make them a bulk guy in the bullpen and go to them in the 5th inning and expect them to give you 2 to 3 innings, because maybe they can do that. So, I know scoreboard does not lie. They are in first place by 4.5 games. You can't be comfortable that this is the real deal, that these guys are going to be back in the World Series with the roster constructed the way it is. So, and of course, from a San Diego standpoint, my partner is off in the solar system somewhere. I can't buy the sales pitcher. We're ready for the playoffs. Well, who aside from Nick Pivetta are you really going to trust if postseason started tomorrow? It's not Yu Darvish with his ERA of 6, who you're hoping can go innings. It's not Randy Vasquez, who now they can't trust beyond the 4th inning. There is no Michael King sighting coming. Joe Musgrove's not coming back unless they throws an inning in October, and who knows, he's got to jump through so many hurdles in his own rehabs. You can't sit here and tell me, Padres will be okay. They're not going to be okay.
Yeah, in order for the Padres to be successful, everything has to go right. And for the Dodgers, even if everything goes wrong, they still come in first place. So we talking about guys on the Dodgers pitching staff. What about my guy, Brusdar Graterol? He's always looking up at the sky, giving himself
he hasn't
props.
done rehab yet. He's, recovering from a shoulder problem.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah, he has not thrown a rehab appearance yet down in Oklahoma City. They say maybe September 1st, but that's if he has no setbacks. We just don't know.
That guy throws heat. He triple digits.
Yeah, but he's like all the other ones. They all get hurt. They had 19 pitchers on the disabled list.
It's just unbelievable.
Sure.
And then you would think that would wipe them out, but no, they still got more guys coming up.
Yeah. Then the one thing that's different about LA and San Diego, and I'm not talking about smog or freeways. The one thing about LA is they got guys at AAA they could trade. They got a load of outfielders and infielders at AA. If they wanted to make the right package, they could do it. Padres don't have any of that.
Well, imagine how different this Dodger roster would look if they weren't allowed to defer the money for Ohtani. I mean, he would get another like 50 million a year. I mean, that would squeeze out a lot of other talent on the major league roster.
No,
Or they would just pay the tax.
just where's my checkbook?
So they would just go the second level, third level tax, pay
Guggenheim,
whatever.
just write that check.
Really?
You know, their luxury payment is right now, without any more additions, is 151 million. That's their tax.
Really?
Yeah, their salary is 383. That's their payroll, and they owe 151 million October or November 1st to Major League Baseball, and that's before they add somebody at the trade deadline.
And so they could give that money to John Fisher up in Sacramento, right?
Yeah,
is that how it works?
Yeah, that's revenue share to Pittsburgh and the other people that don't care. Okay, move on. A couple more here before we get to social media.
Okay, we'll go to Callan, our good friend. He goes, "Hey, afternoon, gents. What are your thoughts about MLS seeming so damn desperate to move their calendar? What would you do if you were the king of Major League Soccer for the best way for them to operate?"
They got a real problem because their calendar runs kind of polar opposite to everybody else. I think it makes sense to do what FIFA does. I mean, all these professional leagues operate in the same window from a calendar, except MLS, which is spring into fall. But they're concerned about weather situations here in the States. But to have transfer windows all matched together, when these other leagues take their breaks and they let their players leave to go work for their national team, that doesn't happen in MLS. So there's a study that's been conducted. There's negotiations going on with the union of the MLS about redoing the MLS schedule so it'll match the English Premier League. It'll match Serie A in Italy. It'll match the one in Spain. It hasn't happened yet, but they think, they said late fall. So I would think by November there might be some type of announcement, Callum, that there's going to be a change in the MLS schedule, because it just doesn't match everything else that's going on globally.
Do you think that they purposely try to avoid going head to head with the NFL?
Would you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I'm still baffled by the way soccer is scheduled.
Sure.
Because I'm learning more and more about international soccer. I'm obviously following San Diego FC and kind of getting into that rhythm. But yeah, you got guys that, came here on loans, like that Iloski kid.
And it wasn't for the whole season.
Right.
It was for a window.
And then, there's a window. I don't know when these windows are. And then they've got these breaks, for national league or nation-oriented teams, different breaks for club championship series or club World Cup
tournaments.
The whole thing, like I mentioned this before, I just need to get a whiteboard and sketch it out. And they should do it. They should have like these months we play regular season play. These months we play, our national team.
Right.
They've got to figure out a way to structure it and have everyone synchronized, because it just drives fans crazy.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of heat and a lot of pressure to do that. So we'll see where it goes. Callum, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go here to Aztec Mike, and he says, "Hey, have fun trying to stop Genty. Raiders are on the rise."
Well, they are. They think their offensive line is going to be a little bit better. I know Geno Smith is going to be better. They got Genty. They're going to run 2 tight ends. They got Jacoby Myers. They think they drafted a 6'4" receiver that's done so well, but he's a rookie. We got to see what he does when they start playing for real. Their big thing is they got to rebuild their back seven, because they lost linebacking and they lost a chunk in the secondary, Mike. And now this Christian Wilkins setback, that's a bit of an issue, because he's a warrior. If they had Christian Wilkins with Max Crosby, with Kuntz, who's the other kid, all their defensive linemen had knee surgeries last year, but Wilkins has not recovered. He had foot surgery, and now he's had another setback, and he's not going to be there to start the season. So defensively, Pete Carroll's going to have to work some real magic, to black magic for the silver and black to be good. But I think offensively, they're going to be fun. And I think their offensive line is going to be a little bit better. And the wild card's Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, madman. His play calling, all the stuff, they're going to do a lot of creative stuff. And so they'll be fun to watch, at least that side of the football. I don't know if they get enough people to stop people defensively.
Black magic, man. That's the Raider mystique right there. Yeah, that's all good. It's going to be fun watching Hampton and Genty kind of compare and contrast their careers going forward. They're going to be in the same division, came from the same draft class, same first round of the class. It's going to be fun to watch these guys.
Yeah. I'm ready. I love the opening of the NFL season. Obviously, I love postseason baseball. I love baseball in October. My God, it's just so cool. I'd love to see our teams in October too.
Well, last October was pretty entertaining. It
Oh,
just didn't work out the way Padre fans wanted. We'll go
yeah.
here to Lenny. Hey, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. And then he goes on to say, Quan to the pods if possible, but no minor league players involved.
Quan's a good player. Duran's a better player. I kind of find it hard Cleveland's shopping Stephen Quan, but they've got a lot of young players, and the Guardians, aka my Indians, have done a really good job developing players. Now they've been snake bitten by a lot of injuries to their pitching staff, so that's why they're scuffling at 500 baseball. But evidently they're gonna trade Quan. Some people that I know in Cleveland are of the opinion they're not going to trade Clase, but the national guys, all the different national guys, saying he's the one that's going to get moved. He's still got 2 years left, I think, of arbitration rights. So, but if you're gonna trade Quan, you're going to get quality. You're going to trade Clase, you're going to get mega group quality. So I got to believe he's going to get shopped. Okay, we got social media.
Well, I just want to get this last thing. We're talking about the Hulk.
Yeah.
And Derek says, hey, considering what Hulk used to do to his shirt, rip is very appropriate.
Oh, you might have been a huge fan. WWE, WWF, whatever. But there's no doubt. I mean, he took the sport on his back and he made the sport something really special. And, WrestleMania, I totally forgotten that term till this morning. And I started thinking about it. I said, holy cow, what those guys did and paid pay-per-view. And they had a WrestleMania at the Pontiac Silverdome in the 80s. They drew 81,000
Oh,
fans.
yeah.
And a lot of those people in Lansing and Marquette and Kalamazoo got a lot of spare time on their hands.
It's just the whole thing's interesting because even though it's scripted, it's like reading a comic book, but it's in real life form, which is kind of fun. But Hulk Hogan, I mean, first of all, he showed up at the Republican convention this last couple of years, but I just always think of him when he's talking to his guys, he's like, how you doing, brother? Brother this, brother that, but he is legitimately like an American icon. I mean, if you're going to do a history of the 20th century, he's one of those guys.
He changed the sport. He changed the entertainment value of that sport.
Yeah, Vince McMahon must love the guy.
Okay, let's go to social media quickly.
Okay, let's go talk a little Dodgers and Mookie. And this is from Compa. He says, we need a shortstop. Mookie's not a shortstop. Another bullpen piece, and if they can trade for another top of the rotation arm, that would be lovely.
Well, you're making 3 trades there. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. Maybe they're going to have to make a decision what they do with Mookie. Does he go back to second? Do you put him back in right field? The rookie from Korea has played pretty well, Hae-Seong Kim. I think he's still hitting .313. Now, he's been a part-time player, and they've moved him all over the place. But Betts is really dedicated to play shortstops, worked really hard. His defense is better right now than it was, say, a year ago. But, boy, he's had such a tough time. He got so sick, and he never got his strength back. And then he got dinged up, and he had the toe injury. And that everybody that's around the Dodgers of the opinion that his bat speed is way off. And if you start to lose your bat speed, you can't compete at home plate. He's not the same player. So we'll just have to see if this is all health related or if there's something else going on. He's just not the same guy.
Well, he's so small, compared to a lot of the superstars. He doesn't have as much room for error, if his body isn't 100%.
Yep. So that's where we are. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to make 3 deals. They'd have to give up a lot to make 3 transactions of that nature. I'd say 1, maybe 2 at the most.
That sounds about right.
Okay, next one.
Okay, let's talk some Angels baseball. And this is with Mr. William Blast. And he goes, Joe Adele is hitting almost 250. He's a power hitter. Raised his average from 175 to 250. Incredible. 250 is a decent batting average in this modern era. Being critical of Perry Manasium is low-hanging fruit.
Well, at the end of the day, though, he's the one that's made all the decisions. And he's the one that's drafted all these pitchers. And they haven't really gotten anybody to the major league level outside of Jose Soriano, who's had a good middle third of the season. It was odd you bring this up because I thought about this today. There's a faction in Orange County of the opinion they should just convince Mike Trout to make a trade. That if they have a lot of faith in all these kids that are playing every day, the O'Hoppes and the Chanels and Zach Neto, et cetera, and Taylor Ward, if they think that this is the foundation of a playoff team and you could trade an aging Mike Trout and still get volume back, maybe they should do that and put Mike Trout in a pennant situation. Put him in New York with the Yankees. put him with the New York Mets or maybe to Philadelphia, and just get a load of good young talent. But at this point, either they don't want to ask, or he just told them, no, I love it here. I want to stay in Orange County, and this will be my home forever. I want to play for one club my entire career. So they got a tough call. They don't have a lot else that's real tradable, and they've drafted so many pitchers, but hardly anybody's arrived that's been a difference maker. I don't know where they'd be had it not been for the short-term investment in Kikuchi as a number one starter and the 1-year rental of Kyle Hendricks. And Kikuchi's got no run support at all. I think his record's 4-7. His ERA is very respectable. He's got no runs. Hendricks, I think, has won 5 games. I mean, they'd be deplorable without either of those two guys. So tough call from Artie Moreno and his people as to what to do, because they just haven't gotten all the returns on what they've tried to invest, and it's a very young team.
I keep hearing Joe Adell's name. It's like, oh, Joe Adell, this is coming. Joe Adell's going to be good.
They waited forever and ever. I mean, it was like his 4th or 5th year, and he was a 190 to 219 hitter. This is the only year in this whole stretch of time he's done anything. And if his batting average is 250 and he's hitting 21 home runs, that's okay. But man, it took him forever to get here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. The whole way they're running that organization, I don't get it. Okay, here's someone taking a shot. This is some franchise. I remember Lee. He's got a face for radio.
Bleeping brilliant, though. Who cares? The only thing I care about is content, my opinions about the content, and what you think about the content and your opinions about my opinion. That's all I care about. I don't need to wear a shirt and tie to work. Face for radio. That's a cop-out. Just admit we put a lot of topics on the table, and admit we do sports talk really different than anybody's ever done, and admit it's bleeping brilliant because we got you to continue to follow us, right? Am I right or am I right?
Yeah. The content is fantastic, but you're no Mike Pomeranz. He's got the spray tan going on TV. Now I want to ask. Okay, this is a question I've never asked you off the air either, but there's always people making comments online about your look, the hair, the mustache, and everything. Is this part of a strategy, like to have a unique look? Because
I never gave it any thought. This is what I did. Again, I came up in a hockey environment where long hair and mustaches, Fu Manchus.
Oh yeah.
That's how everybody was in hockey. And I just kind of kept it.
All right.
Yeah, now here's
so this is authentic.
I am who I am.
Okay.
I'm not apologizing. Here's the unique thing. A lot of people don't know because it's never really been promoted, and I haven't promoted it, and that's on me, I guess. I'm on TV on Saturday mornings. I do a big sports segment at 6:30 a.m. on KUSI. I've been on there since 2018. And they give me free space. We talk about a lot of stuff and some of it's got some criticism stapled to it. So, and I do wear a shirt and tie.
You do?
Yeah. So, if you like what I do, that's great. And if you got reservations about what I do, that's okay. But I do get dressed up. So watch me and, that's your homework assignment. I want you to grade what I'm doing Saturday morning at 6:30 on KUSI on TV here in San Diego, and then get back to us on Monday and jump in the Fans Forum chat box and say, thumbs up, thumbs down, go back to radio, or, hey, this is pretty decent, because it's really different. But
what I love when you're on KUSI, it's great. I mean, you do a great job. But Jason Ostell just gets pretty excited when you're on.
Oh, he's a big sports fan. He's a sports junkie.
Yeah. So he's like, all right, Hacksaw's here. Here we go. And he's all excited.
I wish we had more time to do give and take between me and him to argue a little bit. The most fun thing, one of the co-anchors on KUS, I've gotten to be good friends with, Allie Wagner. I've worked with her in radio and on TV. And one thing is different about Allie. She knows sports and she has opinions, and she'll tell you what she thinks about this, that, or the other. I wish we had longer segments to do more, because if I start debating with her or with Jason, then it takes away the 8-minute window they give me to do content. And we put a lot of stuff in terms of video and in terms of graphics and boards and things of that nature. So, but anyhow, that's your homework assignment. Just evaluate what we do on Saturday morning, 6:30. If I got to be there that early, you should be there that early. I'm trying to get this guy out of bed to help me a little bit too.
You can watch the replays of it on KUSI's website sometimes.
They don't do that anymore.
They don't?
No, and ever since the merger with Fox 5, that whole situation has changed.
Oh, maybe I saw a YouTube clip or something, but you have to go digging. I remember.
Okay.
But yeah, the better is just to wake up early at 6:30 and watch Hacksaw.
Hey, I get up at 4:15 on Saturdays because we have to go in and we have meetings with the producers at 5:30, and then they start the news block at 6, and I go on it.
But you're already awake because you're watching golf.
Yeah, some mornings, yes.
You're watching British Open.
Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast.